This really is my favorite class. I've talked to 20,000 CALD students in PH 116. It's always a joy to be back again. So, how do I push it? Okay. I want to move relatively quickly in time for discussion, but I want to begin with I'll just do this verbally. I've been creating a class which has been entirely inspired by this class. It's Public Health 101, A Sustainable World, Opportunities and Challenges. It looks at what's going to happen when you graduate in a very rapidly changing world. What are the big existential threats? So, this class has got big enough, we'll probably have it in the fall as well. We're always looking for teacher scholars. So if you're interested in this subject, just email me to easypots@berkeley.edu. So, of the 20,000 students I've spoken to, I doubt that any of them ever changed their mind. There's a very, very consistent division within people between those who are pro-choice and those who are pro-life. And it never seems to change. On the other hand, I think this is, I think Monica and I agree on this is an ethical issue. It's an important issue. 1 in 3 women in this room, if you're represented in the United States, have had or will have an induced abortion. If you're fortunate, it will be a safe and simple one. So, something that I wrote in 1985, and which I think stood the test of times. There aren't any black and white sort of rules here. It's a complicated subject, and I think all we can do, and what we're trying to do in this today, is to respect the diversity of opinions, to try and have some depth of knowledge that underlies what our decisions and thoughts are, and always be willing to recognize that they've been making mistakes in a complicated subject. So this is how polarized this topic has become. This is an extraordinary statistic. A doctor who practices and does safe abortions in this country is more likely to die because of that operation than the patient he's looking after. That was unique, but it's true. I don't know quite how many abortion providers there are, but 7 have been killed by extremists because they do abortions. And the death rate when abortion is done safely early in pregnancy is about 1 in 100,000. So there is a bill in the Texas legislature, it hasn't passed but it's being discussed, which would criminalize abortion at any stage. And as murder is a capital offense in Texas, a woman could be, or a provider could be executed for doing an abortion if this bill progresses to be implemented. Now think about that for a moment. Any of you guess who else has ever advocated the execution of people who do abortions and have abortions? Any suggestions? No, Adolf Hitler did. When the Vichy France was that part of France which joined the Nazis when France was defeated. Idi Amin did not have a very good reputation. He said they were cannibals. I had a friend doing an operation in the operating theatre in Kampala, and he had a Uganda doctor opposite him, and they were both doing this operation, and Idi Amin's troops came in, took the Ugandan doctor out, and murdered him. Nicolae Ceausescu is a crazy dictator of Romania, and he made abortion and illegal, and I'll tell you what that implemented later. So this, in fact, is a graph to show what happened when Nicolae Ceausescu did this. Abortion was safe and legal in many communist countries. In 1996, Ceausescu made contraception abortion illegal. This grey area is the total fertility rate, the average number of children women are having across the country. And you can see when he made it illegal that the average number of children doubled overnight. People couldn't use contraceptives, many of them were pregnant, they couldn't get a safe abortion. But then slowly the illegal, unsafe abortion networks were established, and finally, but as that happened, there were more and more deaths from abortion. So by 1989, Romania had the highest maternal mortality in Europe. Then, when the Berlin Wall fell, when the communist systems were overthrown, the first things the Romanians did was to kill Ceausescu. They got family planning, and the deaths from abortion went down, and safe abortion became widely available. So, but just look as to how polarized we are. This is the statement by the candidate. There's no evidence that contraception reduces abortion. This chart by a very well-respected demographer, he says it's the strongest relationship he has ever seen when studying human reproductive behavior. And that is that the higher the percentage of people using contraception is, the high percentage, this is a low percentage. 80% using it, less than 10% using it. This is family size. As that occurs, the number of abortions falls. There's nothing surprising about that, but it's nice to see it eventually. So why do we do this? I've been interested recently in a book called The Enigma of Reason by a couple of French sociologists. And I find it very useful because it says, you know, we like to think of ourselves as intelligent, two-legged apes. It's very rational, and we look at data and we come to conclusions. What these two people say is that's not really what we do. When we're presented with new information, what we do is to say, if I accept that information, will it promote me within my tribe, within my social group? Will my friends think I'm a worthy person if I say that abortion should be liberal or safe? Or if I say abortion should be restricted, will my group of friends applaud me for doing that? So that there's very, very good evidence that we're not as rational as we think we are, but we're very, very tribal in our beliefs. And we are in this room. Not that I belong to one tribe, there's probably other people that belong to a different tribe. And the whole purpose of this afternoon is to have respect for those differences and to be able to share the reasons why we come to our own conclusions. So, making abortion illegal, I can assert this in 50 years experience, does not have any influence on the total number of abortions that occur. All it does is to make abortions much more unsafe for women. So, here's very interesting data from New York, which made abortion legal before Roe v. Wade made it legal for people in the United States. So, in 1969, 70, there were a lot of births and a very small number of legal abortions. Then the abortion laws changed. There was a small decline in the number of births and a big jump in the number of safe abortions. The next year, there was another small decline in births and a very large jump in legal abortions. Now, the interesting thing is that this fall in the birth rate could be accounted for by the rise in the number of abortions. But this change shows that, in fact, when abortion was legal, women were also, couples were using contraceptive more effectively. That's the only way that you can interpret that data, and it's important data because it's a natural experiment. So, why have I come to my conclusions about abortion? Let me be transparent about that. I had a liberal education. I was lucky to go to Cambridge University. I was a practicing obstetrician and gynecologist when abortion was illegal. And I would have 9 to 5 one day, 24 hours duty the next day, 9 to 5 from there. And every day I was on 24 hours duty. Almost every night I had to get up to clean up somebody else's abortion. I didn't have a big, profound sort of ethical debate. It just seemed to be such a dumb way to treat women. I knew that you could do abortions more safely, even at that time. So I joined the Abortion Law Reform Association. I was the youngest member of that lobbying group. We changed Queen Victoria's abortion law, which said even the intention to do an abortion was a felony when you go to prison. I was very shaken and still have very nightmares over my experience in Bangladesh after the war liberation, when several 100,000 women were systematically raped. And I led a small team of doctors who tried to help some of those women. It was a very tiny number that could be helped because the rapes had been going on for a long time, abortions had been late in the pregnancy. Some of the people we tried to help were 12 years old. And it's a very tough memory because these were the most difficult abortions we've ever done. I've ever done. So, and then, when I was in my 30s, I was fortunate to be able to invent, or not invent, to, with a colleague, come up with what's called manual vacuum aspiration. That will probably be used 1 million times or more this year. Very, very simple procedure. And then, my present age, I'm a bit younger, I've been very interested in getting medical abortion around because that is a remarkable procedure and everything you need to end pregnancies in this vacuum. So here's my vacuum aspiration. My colleague, I didn't tell the editor of the Lancet, that my colleague was under indictment for practicing medicine without a license. He was just a person who was very ingenious. He made this syringe, a very short cannula, and enabled a low-cost instrument to be made for about $10, and I could do an abortion on that table in 5 minutes if a woman comes in the first 3 months of pregnancy. It can be uncomfortable. I've also done it on a woman who said, "When are you going to start, doctor?" I said, "When I'm finished." And there's a variation. And the other thing to be honest about is you can't do, 1,000 operations without one or two serious things happening. You can't do 1 million operations without some death. So, as far as I know, I'm the only physician who also has a PhD in embryology that's done abortions. So I know what I'm destroying. And I'm going to use that, not to try and really convince you, but really so you can see my particular sort of journey and then you can see whether that's useful. So this is a picture I took many, many years ago. This is a mouse uterus. This is the lining of the uterus. This is the fertilized egg 100 hours after fertilization. This is you. This is the inner cell mass. This is the trophoblast. It's going to form the placenta. And it's, with this magnification, that's probably a million times if you look at that. And I was interested in how this attaches to the uterus. And it would be impossible to distinguish between a mouse or a woman at this stage of pregnancy. But I think that what I find is that mammalian reproduction is a continuous process of increasing complexity with lots and lots and lots of mistakes and errors. It is not a Toyota factory. It has a blueprint and produces a car. It is a process of bringing together sperm, which are often bad sperm, sometimes bad eggs, things, and so that embryonic wastage, spontaneous abortion, I want to suggest to you is a natural and necessary healing process. So, this is what you would like 100 hours after fertilization. This is literally a tip of the needle. This is what you look at. It's called a marla, the Latin word for a backbone. You hear all this little sperm. So just look how wasteful mammalian reproduction is. While we're talking, these 2 hours, there will be 1.6 billion new sperm made in the testicles of the men in this room. It's quite exhausting thinking about it, but relax it down. And a lot of those will be inaccurate sperm, because simply copying DNA and dividing cells and maturing cells in a complicated way is associated with lots of errors. We probably, most of us, certainly by my age, probably have several cancers, but our body identifies those and gets rid of them. That's my prostate cancer, which Kaiser so, and then a woman doesn't make quite as many. Each one of these is genetically unique. When the women in this room were in their mother's womb, they had about 500,000 eggs in their ovaries. And they lost a lot of those even before puberty. And then you lose quite a lot of eggs during each menstrual cycle. It's a sort of race to see which one is going to get to be ovulated. So this is really how inaccurate, how many failures there are. Between fertilization and implantation, the first 10 days, the time of pregnancy I'm particularly interested in, there's a 30% loss. And then in the next 30 days, there's another 30% loss. So actually, the majority of fertilized eggs don't make it. So, and then of those eggs, fertilized eggs that do develop, a lot of them have failures instead of having two copies of chromosomes, they have twice them, they have three. And so, again, most of the spontaneous abortions that women identify, which is you suspect you're pregnant, you missed your period, and you're still miscarried. A lot of those have abnormal genetic structures. But most of the loss is even before you miss your first period. So if you are an ovulating woman in a sexual partnership, you probably got pregnant many times without opening it, because there's such an irregularity in the development of the eggs that it's been aborted before you even knew that you were pregnant. In fact, it takes very sophisticated new technologies to measure that. So half the spontaneous abortions had abnormal chromosomes, and 2/3 of these were tripling. So this is one of the abnormalities that take place. It's a product of normal sexual intercourse. It's a highly deformed mold. So this has been removed post-mortem. This is the uterine wall. This is a unique, genetically unique structure, which is a result of an egg and a sperm meeting, but instead of forming an embryo in the placenta, it just forms the placenta. And so you get a lot of bleeding, you get a lot of sickness because it's making a lot of hormones. It's the result of normal sex, normal fertilization. But it's an abnormality, and it can be dangerous if it's untreated. Here's another one. I've seen this. It's a little fetus. You can see the umbilical cord, but it's not in the uterus. It's attached to an ovary, and you can have ectopic pregnancies in all sorts of different places, on the kidneys, anywhere within the abdomen. And they're relatively common. They vary in different countries. In Indonesia, about 1 in 100 pregnancies is an ectopic. Now here, I think we agree, is a perfectly normal baby. Looks to be a nice baby. It's loved by the mother, Jane, called Billy. That is a normal child, a normal baby. That baby would have been destroyed by every practicing obstetrician. They would have lost their license if they had not destroyed that baby. Why is that? Because that was an ectopic pregnancy that developed to term. Most ectopic pregnancies, you get bleeding, you've got to do an operation to remove them. This one is what was a normal pregnancy, so if you look at this, you can see the uterus here, which is empty. You can see the limbs of the baby. You can see part of the baby's abdomen. This is the woman's bladder. This is the backbone. So this is an ectopic pregnancy. It's a normal ectopic pregnancy, which is unusual, and it went to term. So I would submit there are no moral absolutes in human reproduction. So I think women make a decision, which I myself would make ethically, between very early pregnancy and puberty, between up to perhaps 3 months. Okay, I may be pregnant, and then I'm going to have a baby. And there's a time in pregnancy, I think, when most people, including myself, would not wish to do an abortion, but I would do an early abortion. That is the sleep. So let's look at something that's not quite as controversial. And is life after birth. We have to make arbitrary decisions. There are some times in history when the age of voting, I think, was 30 years. And it was only men. Then it came down. Then it came down to 18. Now people talk about being 16. Now nobody would say a child of 2 can vote. And nobody would say you've got to wait until you're my age to vote. But whether you set that vote there or there or there is an arbitrary decision. So it has to be thought. The same thing about when you can delay, when you can drive, etc. So we have to make arbitrary legal decisions about the maturation of the human body and the human brain and human behavior. And I think we have to do the same thing for life before birth. So sometimes when abortion's being discussed, President Monica's heard these people say, oh, why destroy this very precious thing when there's somebody waiting to adopt it? Well, there you need a certain sense of scale, and I think it comes from a nice moral message from St. Martin of Tours, 4th century after Christ. So the story is that he met a beggar, and he got off his horse, he tore his overcoat in half, and he gave half of it to the beggar, and he kept the other half himself. And he was venerated for being such a generous person. But the writer, novelist, said, what would happen if you meet 100 beggars? You can't cut your coat into 100 pieces. There's a volume of problems that you can't sort of simply dismiss in trivial, superficial, ethical arguments. Abortion is common and it's one that has to be faced. So, what's the answer here? In fact, I've told you. But, 1 in 3 is very high. And anybody that's looked after women knows that you will meet people who have been sincerely and passionately opposed to safe abortion until they are pregnant, or until their wife is pregnant, or their daughter is pregnant. And then they change their minds. I'm not criticizing people, I'm not making fun of them, I'm simply saying something that is very, very, that is common. Not very, very common, but it's common, and most practitioners have seen it. So I would suggest that one humbling thing we can do is, as we think about this difficult topic, also to say to yourselves, probably I should think about this topic, probably I should have some idea of what I would do if I got pregnant or if my father got pregnant. But I would also link that to saying, whatever my decision is now, it might well be different if actually I was pregnant. Because when you're pregnant, the world changes, it really does. I'm not making fun of people, I'm simply saying that different things happen, that we do go through different phases. And then that's something that's in our DNA, is how we evolve. So 1 in 3. So this is simply a guess of how many abortions there are. What's a guess, but you know, as many abortions a year as there are people in Great Britain. Now, the really big difference here is that the sort of safe abortion that I could do with that syringe I showed you has a death rate of about 1 in 200,000. The abortions and the women I've seen die in Africa have a death rate that may be as high as 1 in 100, here 1 in 200. So this is the biggest difference I know in epidemiology. And the reason that I at least feel passionate about this is I know that I can, with very simple technology, even without changing the health structure, I could prevent 90% of these deaths tomorrow. So there are about 26,000 people in this university, I think, who are going through this every day. When I walk across the campus, and I do it in this room, I turn all the men into women, because I'm thinking about that is the number of women who die just in Africa each year. There are 6 million abortions and about 26,000 deaths. And those deaths, in my clinical experience, are unnecessary deaths. 25,000 of those could be prevented tomorrow. So we can do that by sort of vacuum aspiration by 5-minute surgery, or by the use of medical abortion. This is a mixture of two drugs. Mifepristone, which blocks progesterone, and misoprostol, which makes the uterus contract. This is sold in India by a friend of mine for $10. It's supposed to be on prescription, but this is India, you have to shop and buy it. It's not nice having a medical abortion. You need to know what can go wrong. You need to know when you need to go to the hospital. It can be painful. You get cramping pains, like a very bad period, and you can pass a fetus. That's, a lot of blood. That's not a nice thing, but it's a safe thing. And women, in my experience, choose this over surgery because they are in control. You are in control of your body, even if it's uncomfortable doing this. But you still can't get this as widely available as it should be, or at least it should be in my view. So, just the war of liberation when so many women were raped, and which made such a sort of viscerally upheaval in my own things, because these cases were being raped. So my liberal background is John Stuart Mill, and he said, if there's just one opinion, you're not justified in silencing that one person. You have the power to be justified in silencing mankind. I think that's a very profound thought. It's something that is very important about not only this issue, but this is a very polarizing issue, but there are other polarizing issues in our lives, in our political lives and in other lives. So that is my sort of download. And I'd like to point out that probably most of you know that, first of all, at the beginning of the 19th century, abortion was legal in every state in the USA. By the end of the century, it was illegal in every state in the USA. Now, why was that? The evidence seems to be that it wasn't an ethical issue, it wasn't a religious issue, it was a medical issue. And basically in the 19th century, you had doctors who tried to be licensed, a sort of MD doctor that we now know as a doctor. And you had lots of other people, traditional practitioners and quacks. And they were often doing abortions, and so the mainline doctors wanted to push out of the way the other sort of additional practitioners. And so by making abortion illegal, they took a large part of the trade these people away, and they basically silenced the opposition to the growth of MD type of control of everything that goes on. So, so abortion was illegal until the 1960s for one or two states: California, Colorado, New York. Basically followed the English example. The Colorado law was really a Xerox copy of the law in England, which I think associating it to the place one extent. But the actual law about Roe v. Wade doesn't say abortion is right or wrong. What it says is we need to resolve the difficult question of when life begins. I think that's a fair statement. When those trained in respective disciplines of medicine, philosophy and theology are unable to arrive at a consensus, the judiciary at this point in the development of man's knowledge is not in a position to speculate as to an answer. It's a sort of unredacted Mueller report. I mean, it's saying we don't know what to do, but because of that, and because we respect a diversity of opinions on this, we are not going to make abortion illegal. And that's a very interesting approach, and it's probably different from the one that you're thinking of as one day the Supreme Court woke up and said, we're going to make abortion illegal. We're going to make it legal. They didn't do it in that simple way. And the people that wanted to change it back, and how it's sort of Texas kind of things, need to go back and read the original documents. So I see safe abortion as an issue of religious toleration. You may not wish to see it that way, that is the interpretation that I have. And our First Amendment, I think the most important one, is Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. Now, this meeting is particularly interesting. You probably haven't read this before, because Monica and I are friends, we're both humanists, we don't subscribe to some, the God in heaven tell us what to do. But we come to different opinions, actually, as to what we would do in the weight we would assign to the embryo and the fetus, etc. And I think, again, that is something that makes us all thoughtful. So, Vatican II, which was the Catholic Church's effort to join the 21st century and get rid of some of the teachings sort of about hell, etc., was very strong, and I think we called it on religious liberty, which is the foundation of the essential dignity of every human being. All persons must be free to seek the truth without coercion. I think that's a very noble statement from any religion. It could be Buddhist or Muslim or anything else. And it's certainly one that I subscribe to. So I think we should agree to disagree. We can't, as an embryologist, I can't tell you when life begins. I can tell you a lot of details about fertilization, I can tell you a lot of details about implantation, I can tell you a lot of details about the things that can go wrong, how many sperm that you're wasted, all this. A lot of sperms are sitting here, it's quite exhausting. Most of those are going to be wasted. Probably 100% of them wasted. That's what biology is like. And so, Islam is interesting because when the Christian teaching about abortion began to sort of crystallize, there was the understanding of human reproduction was exceedingly limited. And it was in the Old Testament format that a woman was a field in which the man sowed his seed, and that she made no contribution whatever to the next generation. That's the Old Testament biblical describing reproduction. Now the Arabs were by the sort of when the Christian part was part of the Dark Ages, the Arabs were good observers and scientists, and they began to realize, for instance, by following animals, that the female probably was contributing something to the next generation, that something cycle was happening in the ovaries. And so once you got to the idea that both the man and the woman contribute to the next generation, it altered the way that you look at things. And there's no reference in the New Testament to anything that can be interpreted as abortion. There's one reference in the Old Testament, which is Exodus 21:22, which says, if men strive together and injure a woman that is with child, so she shall miscarry, they shall pay a fine as the husband and the judgment shall determine. In other words, if there's an involuntary abortion, a couple of men are fighting, and in the process they injure a pregnant woman, they should be punished. That's perfectly reasonable. But it doesn't say anything at all about the abortion itself. If you injure the woman, then it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. There's absolutely no reference to any role for the fetus or the embryo in that situation. In the teaching of the Holy Quran, the Holy Prophet says you should space your pregnancies by breastfeeding, which is very natural and very reasonable. And then in the Hadith, there are various discussions about coitus interruptus, and again, there's none of the sort of condemnation either in Christianity or in Muslims that is in our present polarized world. That's the teaching of opposition, seemingly religious opposition to safe abortion is relatively recent and doesn't go back to anything. And people have, in fact, a lot of, when we were changing the law in England, most of the opposition that was voting against to keep Queen Victoria's law was also the part of Parliament that was in favour of capital punishment. And most of the people who wanted to make abortion safe were worried about capital punishment and wanted to be available. So a lot of people, like Trump, were pro-life and against gun control. So this is the Exodus statement. And then moving quickly, you can look at these afterwards. This is a very beautiful painting by Corelli. It's in the National Gallery in England. And that's when I go to London, I go to London. So here is the Virgin Mary. And here are the angels informing her that she's carrying a Christ child. And here's sort of some image of sort of divinity. There's a very convenient little window here. There's sort of laser beam coming down to Mary. And there's a little dome on it. And the teaching of the Christian Church for 100 years was that ensoulment took place some considerable time after fertilization. And before that, it was not an abortion. After that, it was an abortion. And so this is a wonderful picture that tells us a bit of the theological history. So I have a friend, Norman Ford, he's an Australian theologian, Catholic, who wrote this very interesting book, When Did I Begin? And he argues that because there's two types of twinning. There's getting two eggs that are fertilized, it's getting one egg that divides, and that can happen sometime, considerable time after fertilization. So he said until the second type of twinning could no longer occur, there couldn't be any ensoulment. The soul, I'm told, are indivisible, so God couldn't put the soul into the undivided egg. So he says everything before that's contraceptive and everything after that is abortion. It's an interesting insight. And so Bernard Herring was probably the foremost Catholic theologian of the 20th century. And so he says, a moment of ensoulment, this issue of when does the developing embryo become, when does life begin, in the fullest sense of the word, the beginning of the human person does not belong to the breakthrough of revelation. In other words, there's nothing we can call on to tell us the answer to that question. It's a question that we have to answer as individuals. And then, rather like the Methodist teaching, it simply says on the one hand, to regard all abortions of murder, all abortions of medical procedures and moral significance is wrong. And I agree with that statement. It's a tough subject. So, I want to I think we really quite quickly. The idea is any questions now or later?